My father died 20 years ago, and left me a tiny cabin house. He loved that place, built it himself and tended to it religiously. After he died, I couldn't find it in my heart to visit, because every rock on the wall, every flower reminded me of him. My mother never cared for it even when my dad was alive, so within a few months I realized that it would be a while before either of us would be ready to spend time there again. As such, we called up the electricity, telephone, and water companies to shut off services to the cabin until further notice. While other companies complied without an issue, the water company decided this request could be made only by the person whose name was on the bill. Mind you, their fee, due to zoning and a well on our property, was less than €2/month. Repeatedly faxing the death certificates as well as next of kin transfer of the title got us nowhere. Dozens of calls per month, several emails, in-person applications, smoke signals, interpretive dances, telepathy, etc. Nothing made any difference. Both me and my mother were entirely flabbergasted, so we asked around and found out that indeed the process is unsolvable and, albeit not technically legal, people stopped paying those fees and the water would get shut off anyway as a result. Getting any lawyers involved would not be worth the money, so we did just that, discontinued the connected bank account, and never gave it another thought. 2 weeks ago while at my family house, I got a call from the water company. They were closing inactive accounts at the 20-year mark, and my father's cabin was up. They did however tell me that 1. There was a pending sum of €11.93 to be paid for the account to be closed, and 2. The account owner themselves had to make the application to close the account. Once again I mentioned the whole he's dead, spiel and was passed over to a supervisor, but in a reminiscing demonstration of absolute absent-mindedness/stupidity, the response I got was unfortunately they have to show up in person, as we need a paper copy for accounts older than I years, otherwise we can't proceed. Now, I don't know how widely common this is, but in my country, you rent the burial site/grave in 3 to 5 year increments. My father's grave's 20 years were up in August and my mother decided it was time to unearth his bones and surrender the site. As such, we had just been delivered a very respectful package with my father's remains, cleaned and cured, only that week. Everyone that has ever gone through this process would recognize that box for what it was. And what it was great timing. 2 days later, I went to the water company's local office. I wore my most purple, silky, goth outfit, dark makeup, and oh so heathen jewelry, and carried a large bag with me. I asked to speak to the same supervisor, who luckily for me was in an open space area with their team's director and quite a few more desks. After confirming with her why I was there, she started telling me the whole he needs to be here in person thing again, but I interrupted her and told her I know what you will say, so I brought him with me so he can tell you himself. I plopped a Ouija board in the box with my father's remains on the desk, and loudly shushed the area. Heads turned, her director looked up with a what the fuck expression, and the supervisor herself was frozen and wide-eyed. I placed my hands on the Ouija board and just as loudly started asking my father's spirit to communicate with me, show me a sign he was there with us, reach out to me from the grave. Everyone was silent, people walking by the door stopped and stared. I threw a few "Papa can you hear me" in there as well, for dramatic effect. In comedic timing that happens only once in a lifetime, I think a pen/something small fell down from someone's desk behind me, which against the silence was quite startling. Excitedly I moved my hand to yes and proclaimed I needed his help in the form of his signature from the beyond, in order to close this account. Finally the director snapped out of it and came over with an "all right I can help you over here, I think this is enough" but hell no it wasn't. I started gathering my things as I laid into him, how asking to speak in person with an indisputably dead man of over 20 years was beyond stupid and if I had to put up with their idiocy, they had to put up with the process required to get a hold of him. I also mentioned that denying someone's legal title claim was lawsuit worthy, so he immediately changed his tune that I could of course close the account. He tried to bring up the fee but I cut him off with a "don't even think about it" and walked out. It's still early but so far, there has been radio silence. My mother thanked me for handling it, but when I suggested she should write to someone higher up about this, she just said meh, not worth it, it's over now. What a missed opportunity for a water under the bridge comment, tongue sticking out. 2. Do water company wants to speak to my long deceased father in person. I go above and contact the beyond to grant their request.